Azure AI Foundry models. Now, I told you that we have more than 11,000 plus models which are available from various open platforms. This is something which is one centralized platform where every model, every use case, and is all available in one single platform. As you can see right now, it's showing you that we have OpenAI family models available. We have DeepSeek, we have Microsoft 5 models. These things which are mentioned here as coming soon, well, these are also something which are available as of now at the time of recording. When I created a slide, it was not available, but within few months, they added it actually. So you have XAI, which is actually from Elon Musk. We have models from that also. We have Mistral AI. We have Meta Llama, which is basically a new name of Facebook. We have Black Forest Labs. This is something which is still in coming soon. It's going to be done most probably by next month. And for all this 11,000 plus models which are as of now available, you are going to get unified access. You can associate with your enterprise ID or Microsoft Entra ID with that. You're going to get scalable deployment where you can actually control what kind of a limit you want to specify for a particular model so that you can control the costing associations with that. And it's actually driven by enterprise level security. So it's always whatever things you're going to do inside that, it's all going to be enterprise ready. And that's what the biggest plus point of Azure AI Foundry models. Now, before we proceed, let me show you some of these models in Azure AI Foundry portal so that you can get understanding of this thing. Okay, so as you can see on my screen right now, I am at my Azure AI Foundry portal. The basic URL of this is ai.azure.com. I have successfully logged in with my account because in order to do anything inside this, I have to associate with my Azure subscription. Then only I'll be able to use and deploy any of these models. What I'm going to show you right now is if I scroll down here, I have sections like model leaderboards, which is basically showing me what are the top models in terms of quality, safety, cost, and throughput. It's also showing me right now that Grok 3 Mini is actually available here. It's showing me that there are certain models which are actually coming up here or recently launched, which are available in the announcements. Like they are showing me here that Stable Diffusion 3.5 large is now available. Now remember, they are using a word large because some of the models are actually large language model and some of the models are actually small language model. I'm going to explain that thing very soon in my next slide. You can see we have DeepSeek R10528, which is available, which is basically a reasoning model. So there are certain types of models which are also available here. When you see that I have 11,000 plus models, all the models are not same. Some of the models are large language models, which are huge, and some of the models are small language models, which are actually, as per the name, is going to have small and limited amount of data on which it is trained. Also, there is something which is called parameters on which that model is actually trained. So that is also something which is going to vary. Same way, we have some models which is like DeepSeek R1. Now, this is a model which is basically a reasoning model. So there are certain models which are counted as reasoning model, which are mostly more accurate and less creative. But there are certain models which are known as chat models, which are actually more creative but less accurate. So basically, this is all about how you want to compare the models and based on that, which model you are choosing with that. Now, when I scroll down here, it's showing me that total number of models available as of now is 11,097. But let me tell you one thing, this is at the time of recording. There are chances if you're going to watch this video after 1 month, then you're going to have few more models available here. When I check these models, it's going to show me that some of the models are actually highlighting things. Like this is something which is my video generation model, which is Sora from OpenAI. This is my model, which is chat completion model. This is a chat completion model with reasoning capabilities associated with that. This is a model which is actually helping me in response generation kind of thing, which is basically a codex model for the code generation and all this thing. Same way, different types of models are there. There are certain models which are only for embeddings. Embedding is something which is one of the popular technique of converting your text into vectors. And there are a couple of models which are actually focusing on that also. Same way, there are a couple of models from Microsoft. There are a couple of models from different companies like Meta Llama is there. And you can actually search for these models and you'll get that. For example, if you just search for, let's say if I search for Hugging Face, let's say if I'm getting something for that, I'll get some of the models which are, you can see Hugging Quants, Meta, Hugging Quants, Meta Llama. So this is basically a Hugging Face and Llama integrations with that, which is actually available here. Same way, if I search for Meta, is going to show me that I have Meta Llama 3.1. Yeah, you can see Meta Llama 3.1 70B. We have Meta Llama 3.1 8B. Now, for your kind of information, guys, 70B is showing you that this is a model with 70 billion parameters associated with that. This is Meta Llama 3.1, same version, but trained with 8 billion parameters. Now, when you see number of parameters which are associated with model, is basically going to define the capability of the model and the cost also. Because if the model is actually trained with less number of parameters, then it's going to be cheaper. And context-wise also is maybe going to be focusing on a specific context. Basically, these are your small language models. Now, when you talk about this, there are models which are actually having billions of parameters, and not only billions, trillions of parameters also available on that. For example, just to an extra knowledge, I hope you know GPT-4 is one of that particular model, which is actually large language model because it is trained with 1.7 trillion parameters. I think exactly it is almost 1.8 trillion also. But yeah, it is one of that model which is having 1.8 trillion parameters on which it got trained. It's one of the largest model of the recent time. Maybe by the time when I record this thing, it is largest, but maybe in the next few months, we are going to get bigger than that. Possible. Maybe GPT 4.5 or maybe something GPT 5.0. We don't know that because this area is actually evolving every day. So remember, when you are saying that we have 11,000 models here, the first thing which you have to decide is which model you're going to choose from this. And do let me know if you want me to record a separate video on this. I am going to share this information with a separate video that how you can decide which model is going to be the right choice for your solution. But obviously, there is no perfect answer. It's not also like this that you're going to stick to one particular model and it's going to do everything for you, because then it's going to be very expensive for you. For example, let me click on this section, which is compare models. When I go to compare models, it's showing me two sections here. This is showing me that this is a place where I can choose my models to compare. And then right side is showing me metrics. Now I can see different metrics are there. We can focus on cost, we can focus on quality, we can focus on accuracy, embeddings. There are so many things which are there. Right now it's showing me cost versus quality kind of a metrics here. And I can see here that somewhere we have one model which is Microsoft 5.4, which is basically showing me cost score, which is 0.22. And the quality score is 0.72, something like that. Now, maybe if I have a small project and very focused context which is there, I'm going to go with this because maybe this is cheaper as well as it's not very bad in quality. But sometimes, let's say if I focus on high quality, then maybe I'll go for O3. O3 is something which is a GPT model. So we have GPT O3, which you can see here is giving you higher cost and higher ratings also, which is almost 0.90 ranking in that. And if you see right now, from the ranking wise, they are showing me out of 54 models, this is something which is coming as O3 Mini, which is ranked 8. This is ranked 2, which is there. So whether you focus on quality, whether you focus on cost, or you're focusing some other factors, based on that, you can compare these models here. You can add as many models as here. Like for example, I want to add one more model here, and then I'm going to choose one model from this. So let's say I want to select GPT 4.1. And I'm going to say confirm. When I do this, GPT 4.1 is added here in this list. And you can see GPT 4.1 is coming here, which is basically giving me 0.84 kind of a cost score, which is higher. And 0.84 kind of a quality index score, which is higher. But it's not that higher than O3. O3 is 90%. This is 0.84. Now, right now, maybe you're thinking that what's a big deal? It's just few points difference. But it's not like that. In your context, in your agent, choosing a right model is really going to give you higher relevance, higher accuracy, as well as you have to always control the cost when you're developing something for your enterprise. So all these factors are actually very important, and that's why you have to keep all this thing in mind before choosing your correct model. There are so many features which we can see inside this. I'm just showing you model catalog right now. There are so many things which are available in Azure AI Foundry. Throughout this particular course, I am going to show you all those things step by step. Right now, let's go back to our presentation deck so that we can continue with this discussion. As I said, we have two different kind of models. We have large language models and we have small language models. So obviously, from the name suggests, large language models are mostly trained with large volume of general text data. And then it's always going to have many billions of parameters, sometimes even trillions, as I've given you an example of GPT-4. Small language models are, on the other hand, trained with focused text data only, and it's going to have fewer parameters associated with that. Large language models are comprehensive language generation capabilities are available inside that, and it is going to be capable to do this thing in multiple contexts. On the other hand, small language models are focusing on the language generation capabilities in a specialized context only, not with the multiple context. There are pros and cons and both the side. Large language models, because of the large size, can impact on the performance and portability, as well as when you try to do fine-tuning kind of a configuration with your own data. Large language models are going to be time consuming, and because of the time consuming, it's going to be expensive also when you want to do fine-tuning. Sometimes some of the large language models, when you fine-tune, it takes days. Yes, it takes few days to train the large language model, which is obviously going to be expensive because you have to run your compute clusters continuously to train that large language model. On the other hand, small language models are going to be faster, portable, and it's less expensive to fine-tune with your own training data. Now, obviously, as I said, do not come to a conclusion that I'm going to go with small language model or maybe I'm going to go with large language model only. It depends on the context. It's not that easy choice, okay? It's something which is even tougher than making a career choice. So just hang on. Next, which I want to add on here is we have different types of model also. Like I showed you that you have reasoning model and you have chat models, both are there. Most of the time, there are two things which I want you to remember in this. First one is when you go with chat models are mostly perfect for natural language conversations and responses. So if you want that you have an agent which is going to do a conversation with your user, then you need a chat model. On the other hand, sometimes if you want to perform some structured reasoning, some kind of a logic, or maybe a problem solving kind of a thing with the complex problem, then reasoning models are going to be the perfect one. It's again based on this particular conversations and this particular structured reasoning kind of thing. We have pros and cons associated with both the models. Like chat models are basically going to predict next word in the pattern, and because of this, these models are going to be fluent. These models are going to be more creative about the responses. So if you're looking for more creativity, chat models are perfect for that. But chat models are actually having some limitations because of creativity, which is if you ask the same question again and again, it's not going to give you same answer exactly. It's going to give you similar answer, but with variations. And I'm sure you have observed this thing if you have used ChatGPT and Copilot. Remember guys, in ChatGPT and Copilot, it is basically based on the chat models initially. And then if you give any particular input prompt inside that, and if you just repeatedly give same prompt, then also it's going to give you a variations in the answer. It's going to give you similar answer, but it's never going to give you exact same answer. And that is something which is like more creativity or more randomness is going to be there in that. On the other hand, in the reasoning models, it's going to be highly accurate. And because it's based on the structured logic or mathematical logic kind of a thing, it's always going to give you straightforward same answer. Because in maths and arithmetic things, it's always going to be 2 plus 2, 4. It's never going to be 5. And that's the reason when you want high accuracy, language models are having reasoning models inside that. And when you want high creativity, we have chat models associated with that. Now, if you ask me which one is better, well, it's not like that. Depends upon the context. Let's say if you are looking for customer support agent, or you're looking for content creation or brainstorming kind of thing, chat models are perfect for that. On the other hand, if you're doing some scientific computing, you want to focus on AI safety verifications or some complex planning you want to do, then reasoning models are perfect. Also, in some of the context, we combine both of this. For example, your modern Copilot, which is actually used for Microsoft 365 and all, Microsoft 365 Copilot is actually a chat model powered by reasoning model. It's actually using both of these things inside that. So basically, neither this is best, not that. Sometimes we have to combine both of them. And that's why when you talk about language model now, I hope you are going to keep this thing in mind that there are thousands of models which are available. And in that also we have types of model like small language model, large language model, chat model, or reasoning model kind of thing. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our videos on YouTube and on our website, which is skillset.club. I'm really happy with your comments. I'm really happy with your interactions. Some of you have actually sent me an email also. Some of you have connected a call with me. I'm really happy with the response which I'm getting from this. Still, I want to request you that if possible, just subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is really going to help us to reach out to more people, and it's also going to help you so that you cannot miss any new updated content which is coming from our side. So thank you so much. Happy learning. As of now, in this particular video, this is enough for the language model. But other than language model also, there is one more thing which is important for us, and that is something which is known as tools. Yes, if you are focusing on agent, I always say that agent is always having two different components associated with that. First one is obviously your language model, which I think now you understand, because this is going to have your generative AI language model, which is maybe deployed from Azure AI model catalog. And then you're going to have different kind of capabilities with that model, which can interpret your prompt and give you responses. On the other hand, you have something which is known as tools. Now, we have not seen this thing in depth in this video, but I'm going to show you this thing in the next video. Tools are basically having two different types. Your agent is going to have either a knowledge tool, or maybe it's going to have action tool, or maybe it's going to have both of them inside that. Knowledge tools are basically going to provide a grounding context by maybe searching information sources like Bing, or maybe enterprise data store, or maybe a simple file search. It's going to search the data and it's going to provide that thing into your agent. This is something which is inspired by the concept called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. If you don't know what is RAG, I strongly recommend you to check out my AI 102 course videos, or you can check out some of my videos on the YouTube also with that. RAG is a retrieval augmented generation, which is basically providing a grounding content for your agent, and that is going to be working like a context on which is going to give you answer. So that is something which is provided by one tool called knowledge tools. Now there are multiple tools which are available here. It's not a one single tool. I'll show you a deep dive into knowledge tools in the next video. And then we have action tools also. These are actually those tools which will help you to automate tasks. For example, you want to generate and running a code. So basically you want to generate some programming language code. You want to do certain tasks like downloading a file or booking a flight ticket or maybe calling some particular API. All of these things are going to be taken care by agent tools. These tools are going to be a very important part of your agent. And that's the reason when you are saying that I want to develop an agent, remember, it's always going to have two different parts in that. Your agent will have model, which is your large language model or small language model, and it's going to have your tools where you can have multiple tools integrated with your agent, and that is something which is going to define the functionality of your agent, that how it's going to work and how it's going to perform certain actions. Now remember, this is something which is your agent, which is always going to associate with your user. So basically the user who's actually going to associate with the agent is always going to initiate some particular thread. Now you can see right now, this dotted line which I'm showing you right now is actually something which is a chat session with agent to take place on a separate thing which is known as thread. Now this is also another term which I'm introducing in this video, but I'm going to explain a lot about this in the coming video, which is actually a thread. Basically, when you start conversation with the agent, that one particular instance of that communication which is started here is something which we call thread. And thread is actually that part which is connected with the memory of the agent. So it's actually going to remember what your user is actually trying to say in this multi-turn conversation. So we'll see this thread, we'll see the tools, but as of now, I hope you understood language models. Let's move to our next video, and then we'll see a few more things. I hope you are enjoying this course. I hope you are learning all these things and you are able to understand this thing. And we are still going to do a lot many things, but because we have some limited duration which is available in this website, maybe the full course we are not able to put in this particular place, but the full course is going to be available in our official site, which is skilltech.club. You can just search this thing on a Google, skilltech.club, and you're going to get our website where you're going to get a couple of AI related courses free of cost. Also, if you purchase our premium subscriptions, I'll be here to help you on your certification path. If you are interested in getting certified in AI, getting certified in AI engineer kind of a certification from Microsoft, I am an official Microsoft certified trainer. I can guide you on how to clear those certification exams easily, as well as if you're not familiar with this lab configurations and all, I can provide a lab also to you.